Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a divine message that is at the same time an expression of incredible love and a really stark warning. It gets right to the heart of our relationship with God and asks a pretty timeless question about gratitude. So let's get into it.
So right at the core of all this is this fascinating puzzle, which brings us to our big question for today. How can a message that's all about love also be a serious warning? Let's unpack this and see what the source itself has to say.
All right, so where does this message begin? Well, it doesn't beat around the bush. It starts with a foundational command, one that is incredibly direct and, has a laser-like focus.
And boom, right out of the gate we get the main principle, strict, absolute monotheism. The verse is a direct command. Don't set up any other deity alongside God. And notice the prophet's role here, peace be upon him. He's not presented as a king or a magician, but specifically as a clear warner. His job is to deliver this absolutely essential message.
Now, this specific act that's being warned against has a name, shirk. And you have to understand, in the society where this was revealed, this wasn't just some small theological point. It was a radical idea that challenged the entire way of life, and it's presented as the most serious prohibition there is.
And to really hammer this point home, that it's all about the message, the text addresses something people were probably asking all the time. Hey, where are the miracles? But the answer is decisive. Signs and miracles, those are with God. The prophet's mission is about communication. This really grounds faith in conviction, in hearing the message, not just in seeing some big spectacle.
Okay, so we have this really clear warning set up. Now, the verses kind of zoom out to show us the why. Why is this warning so critical? Well, it has everything to do with the nature of the divine power behind it.
And what's so beautiful here is where the description of divine power starts. It doesn't begin with, supernovas and galaxies. It begins with something deeply personal. It says that all of us, all of humanity, were created from a single soul. I mean, what a powerful statement of our shared origin and our unity.
And from that really personal starting point, the lens just pulls way, way back to a cosmic scale. The text says that God provides for every single creature on this planet, but it goes even deeper. He knows where it lives and even its place of storage. It's like every single detail is perfectly accounted for, all written down in a crystal clear record.
So here's the crucial point. This all-encompassing knowledge is paired with absolute authority. God alone has the power to give more or to hold back sustenance and provision. It completely underscores our reliance on the divine will, no matter how hard we work or who we are. A concept the text points out that, most of the people do not know.
So when you're faced with this picture of absolute divine authority, what's the expected response from us? This is where the verses pivot from power to practice, laying out a path that's all about love and, maybe more importantly, action.
And the logic here is just so clear, isn't it? It's like a spiritual recipe. Step 1, if you truly love God, the proof of that love is to follow the guidance His messenger brought. And the result? It's reciprocal. God will then love you back and offer you forgiveness. Love isn't just a feeling here, it's the engine for obedience.
And this is such a central theme. According to these verses, faith isn't just a passive thing you feel in your heart. It's an active, conscious choice you make every day. It's saying that love isn't static, it's an action verb, and you really can't have one without the other.
And this brings us to a really powerful and honestly a very relatable human story that's embedded right in these verses. It's a narrative that serves as a test of whether we actually remember where our blessings come from after we've received them.
The verses lay out this classic human cycle. When people are in need, the example given is a couple praying for a child. They turn to God so sincerely, promising, "We will surely be among the grateful." Then the blessing arrives. But then what happens? In that moment of ease and happiness, they forget the very promise they made when things were tough. I mean, the contrast is just so stark. On one side, you have this heartfelt plea made in a moment of vulnerability, and on the other, the reality of what happens when the blessing actually arrives. The promise of gratitude gets replaced by forgetfulness. The call for help is answered, but then, as the text says, Satan causes them to slip, and the very signs they asked for are suddenly dismissed as just obvious magic. It's a powerful look at our own inconsistencies.
And this forgetfulness isn't treated like a minor slip-up. The verses frame it as choosing a side in a spiritual battle. Those who let themselves be overcome by this heedlessness are put in the party of Satan, who, in the end, are described simply as the losers.
And this brings us right back where we started, to that initial warning. The stakes are presented as ultimate and eternal. The verses say that on the day of judgment, even if a person owned everything on earth, all the gold, all the land, it wouldn't be enough to ransom them from the consequences of their choices.
So we're left with this powerful story, a warning about where we place our devotion, a description of awe-inspiring divine power, a clear path to love through our actions, and a cautionary tale about gratitude. And it all kind of pushes us to ask a question that feels more relevant today than ever. In a world that is just overflowing with distractions, what does it truly mean to remember?